Hello, everybody. Welcome to California Day. Gorgeous day. We brought the weather with us straight from SoCal. Thank you all so much for being here with us. I'm so delighted to have Chris Slager here. I know that this is going to be a very interesting conversation. We appreciate you taking the time to come and join us. Chris is the head of film for our 5th season, and he oversees all in-house film development, production, and distribution partnerships. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. So,
I'll try not to get distracted by this view.
Try not to get too distracted here. So, Chris, tell us, what are you seeing right now when it comes to where productions are choosing to shoot their projects?
Look, I think it always starts as a creative conversation, right? And trying to figure out where you can kind of build the best crews, and whether you're shooting on stages or on location. And I think what happens is that conversation obviously quickly gets narrowed down to the places where you can also kind of maximize incentives and frankly for studios, kind of mid-sized studios like ours, it's like, where do you have relationships and where have you had good experiences? I think over the last 6 years since the pandemic, talent has scattered a bit. We have filmmakers living all over the country and all over the world. So, making sure that they have the right infrastructure and support. And sometimes that's because, we have experience somewhere, and sometimes that's because they have experience somewhere, and trusting that. So it's a creative conversation that quickly kind of gets whittled down by some of the financial implications.
So we have a large concentration of talent that lives in Los Angeles. That's been always a significant value for us, but the industry has become much more mobile. I mean, and you were talking about that right there. So we really looked as a state of what we needed to do to improve our competitiveness. Other jurisdictions offering more lucrative tax incentives that we were. But last July, we passed the 4th iteration of our film and TV tax credit program. We increased our annual funding from $330 million to $750 million. We made all sorts of program changes, as you know, expanded categories. And when we did that, we saw with our first application window a 400% increase in applications. So we were doing something right. And, we really went about the process. I was just telling you back there that we went out and we did a listening tour. We talked to the filmmakers, independents, the studios, the streamers, everyone. What were we doing in California that was working and what wasn't? And when we opened that new application window, you had a project that applied, very exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about where you are right now with Gold Mountain, Ang Lee's film that's being shot in California?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think for us, the sort of the most important parts of the exploration have to do sort of with where we think we can kind of create the best movie. And sometimes that a movie is a long gestating process, right? Where can you bring artists and collaborators together, and how do you start to kind of build that team even before you're sort of boots on the ground producing? We developed a book with Ang Lee called All These Hills Is Gold that we adapted for a feature, and we did like a 20-week exploration process with him and the producing team to figure out sort of how do we architect this movie? How do we build this movie? There weren't roles in it for big movie stars. It was a giant historical epic, and it was something that he wanted to shoot in a very like kind of beautiful, pure, naturalistic way, and sort of took a long time to really get our arms around what that was and what that would look like. And I think it's a California story. It's an American story, but it's a California story. It's the story of 2 girls who face the unforgiving wilderness of California in the late 1800s, the end of the gold rush, the bubble burst, and they kind of learned the secrets and sacrifices of their family along this journey from the Sierras all the way to the Marin County coast. I mean, we had to shoot it in California, but how?
exactly.
And it really was the new program that sort of, as we were up there, boots on the ground, trying to figure out all the pieces, and, you know, costs were mounting and challenges were mounting. I mean, it's a true expedition, this production. And the new program was released, and so we started looking through that, and we realized that, you know, it definitely had the ability, as an independent studio, taking the cap off of the indies allowed for us to you know, look at it from a whole different perspective. So you know, we made the choice to pause production and take the risk to reapply for the new program. I think, like, it was, I don't know what we would have done had we not gotten in, but, like, honestly, shooting it in the United States anywhere probably would have been, with the ambition of the movie, probably would have been impossible, and maybe that would have meant the movie wouldn't have existed. It was as simple as that. Like, we had to preserve the California piece, and if it weren't for the timing of the new program, it's probably a movie that would be lost to time.
Yeah. And we're all super excited to see it. And yes, there was a lot of back and forth between fifth season and our office at the California Film Commission. Big shout out to my wonderful team and staff who are also extremely helpful in making sure that this came to fruition in filming in California. So, you know, we talked a bit about just how mobile this industry is. What else do you think when you're considering California, beyond that this is Gold Mountain needed to be shot there? I mean, what else is it about California? I mean, people talk about our crews and landscapes. What else? What is it for you at fifth season to choose California? Yeah,
we shot a movie at the beginning of the year in LA, and that movie really could have been shot in a lot of places. I think for us, the caliber of talent and crews that we were able to bring, for us as a studio, to be able to have not just our, like, you know, top creative executives and physical production executives traveling to a set, but, like, on the set of Night Watching, we had every single person from the studio go to set for at least an hour one day. Like, production finance team and the accounting team and the groups that work on our insurance policies, and, like, people that have never been on a movie set. Like, I have an executive who we hired who was working a decade at Lionsgate before working for us. And she does all of our internal green lights. She'd never been on the set of a movie.
Wow.
And I think that's a testament to her generation and the time. But to be able to kind of bring the production close to the team supporting these things day in and day out was an incredible opportunity. But I think more than that, what you get in, like, sort of just the collab, like, it's such a collaborative sport, right? And what you get in those collaborations when you are doing something in the towns and communities that people live in, it means you're kind of sourcing different pieces for wardrobe, and you're celebrating, you know, great designers and fashion that exists maybe in Southern California because of a relationship that exists there, and you're supporting other kind of local businesses. Like, the craft services teams that got to come work on that movie were, like, I mean, the stories that they were telling us of what they've been through the last 6 years is harrowing. The way that they've been able to kind of make ends meet and keep their businesses alive, and to have a production like that to come support. We weren't a very big movie, but we got big talent, big personalities, and I think what we've captured punches way above its weight in a way that, like, no tax credit anywhere else could have allowed for.
Yeah, we're always, you know, talking about tax credits. I mean, it's an economic development tool. So, you know, it's an investment. And we talk all the time in California about, you know, it's not an outlay of taxpayer dollars. It's tried and true investment. But you think about just the brand identity of California and our important legacy. But all the ancillary businesses that support entertainment production, as you mentioned, have been, you know, struggling.
Yeah.
We had complete shutdown of COVID, you know, dual labor strikes, wildfires, etc. So to hear that, you know, thank you for your business and thank you for staying in California. And, you know, and it's those human stories too that you're talking about, your craft services and the little restaurants and the,
totally.
You know, local
The
shops.
jewelry
and,
designer from the flea market
That's
that
right.
the costumer goes and gets that piece from. It's like
Yeah.
you kind of like you're building a world in any movie, and like put all the little pieces that go to make that up. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, exactly. She won't mind me telling you, but I was telling Chris backstage, Night Watching. So Night Watching, it's produced and starring Mila Kunis, and Mila is a very old, great friend of mine, and she kept calling me, "You've got to raise those caps. I need to be in California. You know, my kids are here. I want to stay in California to shoot." So sure enough, we got those caps raised, and Night Watching came in, and we went to see her on set, and I knew that she was close to home, and she was doing the work that she loved to do. So
I think we may have scarred some of the kids, because a lot of parents felt that way. It's a horror movie.
yeah,
And so, everyone's so excited, like, oh, come see mommy at work, come see daddy at work. But like, bring their kids. The kids start asking questions. So what's this movie about? What's living in the walls?
yeah.
Like, don't worry about it.
That's funny. That's funny. So I'm curious, how did you find your way into entertainment? Like, what was your trajectory?
I was born in Northern California, but I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. I went to NYU for college and studied finance. I think for me, I really wanted to go into business. I wanted to work in a pursuit that created a product or supplied a service. And at 18 years old, I didn't know what that was. I liked movies, I liked TV shows, and obviously NYU has, a long tradition of like, feeding people into that industry. And I think for me, I was like curious. So I started doing internships. I interned at Focus Features and NBC Universal, worked at Saturday Night Live, and I got to do a lot of those experiences right there in New York. And then after I graduated, I sort of made the leap to go work at an agency. I started at WME 15 years ago in the mailroom, and we built a studio out of the agency. We built a group called Endeavor Content that started financing development, film, and television. I was a part of that team from day one, and a few years ago took over the film division. Now I oversee all of the film production. So I've had a lot of different jobs. I've worn a lot of different hats, from agent, raising financing for movies, selling distribution rights I sold Florida Project here with Sean Baker to A24, and worked with a lot of the international sales companies here to raise money to put movies together, represented talent, and then ultimately, producing and running the studio without ever having changed jobs. But I started somewhere that was very entrepreneurial, that still had a lot to prove, and, was able to find a lot of opportunity within that. So it's kind of like an interesting path, even though it's kind of been, I've had the same desk chair since I got promoted to agent.
Wow.
Different building now.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, it sounds like you've had your iron in quite a few different fires. So you could provide a unique perspective for everyone who's gathered here today. Technology is advancing very quickly. There have been major disruptions. We talked about a few of those, and big changes, consolidation taking place, and the future of AI, for instance. But from where you sit, what are you seeing? What are the big changes that people in this room should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's obviously the stuff that everyone knows and interacts with all day, every day, and we don't need to spend time on that. I think, like, for me, I'm glass half full. I'm very optimistic about a lot of this, and genuinely, I see an opportunity in, like, in the film world. Like, it's really the first time there's been like sort of a wholesale disruption to, like, with the technology, not in terms of how films are distributed. We've seen that over and over and over again, but for how films are produced. Mm-hmm. And I look at sort of the example of, like, when you look at animated film, and you look at a company like Pixar and their, like, creative success rate, like how many of their films really kind of work versus the average bear. And I think AI, the potential of that technology has the ability to allow for us to iterate in a new way. I don't think it takes away from the kind of magic of human interaction and bringing 2 creatives together or 10 creatives together and what comes out of that. But, you know, if you want to try something a different way, or you want to map something out, you have the ability to kind of go in and make those adjustments and make those changes. And I think that as the technology gets better, the applications of it will allow for us to make like maybe pure and more evolved execution of the kind of original vision behind a project. So I mean, we're not there yet, but I try to look beyond. I'm trying to look a little bit beyond kind of the moment that we're in today and say, like, you know, where could this be headed? I think the hardest thing is where the technology is kind of creating opportunities to bring sort of fewer people in at the ground floor. Like, I'm a big believer that you need to, you know, bring talent in at an early age and, you know, grow and develop them from that point. And I think some of the efficiencies in terms of like business and process are allowing for people to kind of make that decision to, you know, have fewer assistants on the team or bring in fewer people. Like, it's like you need those people getting that exposure from a young age. And if they don't have that, then then there's something lost in the process. And that becomes a generational gap and issue. Yeah. So I think that even though some things are made possible by the technology today, we have to be very thoughtful about, you know, where do we see it going and who are we bringing up behind us?
You bring up such an important point. You know, we see inevitable that AI will provide, you know, augmentation to entertainment production. There's no question. I mean, as you mentioned, building out efficiencies, reducing budgets, you know, to some degree, but not replacing human beings. But that's I think that is something that's important for people also to remember, is just making sure that the mentorship is available and ready, and that we're bringing up that next generation of filmmakers and training them
of everything, of production finance executives, of accountants and of lawyers, and of, you know, of agents and producers. Like, it's so important that we you know, make sure that there's space for those kinds of people in our organizations and on our productions and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, as you know, because you have projects in our film and TV tax credit program, you pay a percentage that goes into our training programs for next generation. So we have service providers. We have 6 who are training the next generation, and all the projects that receive tax credits pay a percentage into that program. And we're very committed to this, and our service providers have a high focus of working with people from underrepresented communities, so that the next generation of entertainment workforce, you know, looks like California and is representative of California.
That's the only way to tell new and interesting stories.
It is the only way to tell new and interesting stories, to have those diverse voices. And I think that that's something that's so unique about California. We celebrate our multiculturalism. We celebrate our diversity. It's my belief that creativity flourishes when people feel free, and that is one thing about one great asset and value that we have in California is really that freedom for storytellers. So yeah, I appreciate that. Tell me a little bit about when you're deciding where to shoot a project. Listen, California, we've got a continent's worth of landscapes in one state, with the depth of our crews, the talent of our crews unmatched, our infrastructure, our equipment, etc. But when it comes down to it, we know that tax credits are important. So for you guys, who's doing it pretty well, and who should we have an eye on?
Look, I think one of the challenges that still exists in the California program, and something that I think would really open up California for us for even more films than we already try to kind of get put through the program is the timing of the application process and approval process. We don't, there's so many parts of putting a movie together that are outside of your control in terms of timing, right? And if you don't know if you have an actor that has a window of availability that's come together and you're ready to go, and you don't know that you have the tax credit, or the timing of the tax credit doesn't align with the timing of your production schedule because of the application window or the shooting window, because you're kind of straddling something, like that makes it really challenging. So, very often then we have to pivot. We have to look at New Jersey, we have to look at Ireland, we have to look at a place where we know if we go there, we're going to get the incentive on our spend, right? And so I think, for me, from where I sit, and it's a unique position, I think a rolling application process of some kind would be really helpful to make sure that the timing of something does not prohibit us from going to make it in the right place.
Yeah, it's important. And you're not the only person who's told us that. And actually, we added more windows.
Yes, that was huge.
Which
huge.
We shift the timing of the windows. So we were listening. We shifted timing of the windows. We added more windows. And we're receiving a lot of positive feedback about doing that. Part of the reason we were able to do that is the increase to 750 million.
Yeah.
So, we have a finite amount of funds to allocate.
Right.
So we have to kind of, space it out. But that is extremely important. I completely get it. Georgia's an uncapped program, and so that's a rolling admissions, but it's different. I still think that ours is ours is working very well. And again, the way that we approach it in California is our application is based on a jobs ratio and qualified spend. We want to make sure your project's coming into our program, we're creating the most amount of jobs and generating, that project's generating the most economic activity as possible, which is why we're so targeted and focused. So you've been coming to Cannes for since 2013, I understand.
I think so.
Right?
I have to check on that, but I think so,
Somewhere we won't hold you to it. We won't hold you, just around there. So you've been coming here for a long time. What's you just arrived, but what is it that it excites you about coming to Cannes every year? What do you like to accomplish, and what do you like to experience when you come?
I think of all the kind of annual film events and festivals, it's the one with kind of the most incredible cross section of talent, of executives, people from distribution and sales and marketing and publicity. You get like an amazing cross section of films that are premiering here, but even more if you look at the diversity of content that exists in the market and how many films that will never play here got their start here. It's like beyond imagination. Like I remember being here, it must have been 2014, we sold Arrival to Sony International and Paramount Domestic. Like that film never premiered here in the Palais, but it wouldn't have existed without the market of Cannes as a platform for us to go find the distribution that we found. And it's just like, there's just endless stories like that. So there's so much, like, go talk to people in line at coffee or restaurant, or the people sitting at the table next to you, because someone's connected and touching something that's exciting no matter where you turn, even if they're not dressed in a tuxedo walking the red carpet.
I love that. Do you make your rounds to other film festivals, or
yeah we like and when I was in my days as an agent and working kind of a lot on independent film, I was at all of them religiously year over year. Now I try to go just to kind of, it's a great opportunity to spend weekends seeing things. Like, love to go to Sundance and just get the badge and see. I think I saw 24 movies there last year. It's like, feels like church at the beginning of the year, just being inspired by great new voices and watching that talent. Like my first Sundance, we were up there with Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan for Fruitvale Station.
Oh yeah.
And it's like to be there at the beginning and then to watch the rise of these incredible voices is so special.
It's so special. This year was special for us at the California Film Commission because two projects in our program, Josephine and The Invite,
Amazing.
were at Sundance.
Yes.
So we're super excited about
ones.
that. Two great ones. Two great ones, yeah. And
Two great filmmakers.
Two great filmmakers. Two great filmmakers. Yes, the invite. I was completely blown away by that film. I mean,
too.
Josephine too, but the invite. So the invite is a cast of 4, basically. Anyhow, it is truly a must see. I know it's not your project,
No,
and
but
I'm not plugging the invite.
I was
for
there
any
at the
particular
premiere.
reason other than honestly, it's just such a fantastic film. Josephine too. So
yeah, I was at the premiere of The Invite, and the last card after the movie ended was a dedication that Olivia Wilde for Diane, and I broke out into tears in the middle of Eccles Theater. I worked very closely with Diane Keaton and made a dozen movies with her.
Oh,
and
wow.
When I saw that, I didn't know. I was at dinner with Olivia Wilde a couple weeks later, and I asked her about it. And she said that they met on a movie called Meet the Coopers, which at the time I was an assistant working for Graham Taylor at WME, and we get this call. Hi, it's Diane. He's got to call me back. Click. And I was like, holy shit. I think Diane Keaton just called you, Graham.
Oh,
He's like, what, really? And she was calling about something on set because, you know, with the distributor, and she needed sort of expert advice. So my first time ever speaking to her was on that movie as well.
Oh,
So it was special.
I mean, she was incredible.
The best.
Such a brilliant actress and such a nice person.
Totally.
Yeah, she's missed for sure. So here we are, California Day. We're getting close to wrapping up this discussion today.
I'm ready to go swimming.
I know. Look at this. The weather is beautiful. So tell us about. So we'll bring it back to California. Describe California. What does California mean to you as a person who lives there and as a person who works in this extraordinary legacy industry that has been with us for over 100 years?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that California has, films are meant to showcase other worlds, other stories, other industries. That's the purpose of the art. And I don't think there's anywhere else on the planet that has more of that than California, right? Whether it's tech or farming, like we lose, there's so much we lose track of it, even living there, even being in the center of it. And I think the more that we can kind of build up those stories and celebrate that culture, and the better off we're going to be. I think now we have even more opportunity to do that at home. And I think that I love the idea of just continuing to work towards from the early days of like assistanthood all the way through, big movie star top talent. It's like the more that we can do in the state and the more that we can build, it's like it's going to pay dividends for generations.
Yeah, absolutely. And leadership is so important in the state. And Governor Newsom came in and said, okay, let's do this. This is a seminal moment.
Yeah.
We need to not only curb runaway production, we need to grow production here in the state. And other members of our legislature coming on and doing the important work that they needed to do. And, just keeping that momentum going. It's important from a policy point of view and a leadership point of view for California. So we hope that you will continue to look at California for your business, and we'll keep doing our part on the state level to support.
You'll see more fifth season applications.
Filmmakers
Trust me.
like you guys. I love that. Fantastic. Everyone, Chris Slager, fifth season.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us today.